Thank you very much. I have an easy task to explain the 1,000 years of history of Venice in 10 minutes, so I will try to do so. You change this, huh? So next. Okay. So the point is that we are not resisting. It's a mixture, the strategy of Venice, between adaptation and resistance or defending is a complex strategy which started many years ago. You heard from the presentation today how there was this deglaciation occurring. With the deglaciation, a lot of sediments carried down from the Alps, which are quite near to Venice. Venice is here. Here are the Alps, the Dolomites, where Cortina Olympic Games will start soon, is only 2 hours driving from here. So the number of rivers take enormous quantity of sediment down to the sea, and the waves were modeling these sediments into littoral islands, and behind that there is the lagoon of Venice. So it's quite as many of the lagoon. The sea level at the peak of the glaciation was 1,200 meters lower, and the sea arrived more or less around here in Ancona. So it was completely different 10,000 years ago. So this siltation occurred also not only here, but along the Adriatic coast, where you see these sediments are, and many of the Roman ports were silted down. So Venice was on the background of Venice was a Roman port, which was silted, and the people transferred into the lagoon, which is presently like this. We are just a city inside a lagoon, which is something impossible to think about. The lagoon is quite wide. It's the largest lagoon of the Mediterranean Sea. It's communicating to the sea through 3 inlets. Here in Lido, the closest to the city. Malamocco, where the ships go here in Marghera. We are here more or less. And the Chioggia is the southern part of the lagoon. But would you build a city in a location with this condition? Soft soil, scarcity of construction material, no wood, no stones, accessible only by specific water, shallow water, absence of potable water, difficult use of animal power, which was the only power, cows, horses, lack of land for agriculture, and salty soil. But they did. It's a matter of fact that they did for some reasons. And so the reasons are inside a number of small and large innovation, which is make what is called the intelligence of Venice. We have the pavilion, you said, in Biennale Architettura, which is called Intelligent Venice. The history of trials and errors, foundation was made on wooden piles, transported by river and the sea, so all the wood are coming by river from the forest of the Alps. Invention of a specialized hull for ships, urban cistern for rainwater, many specialized type of boats, and also we take care of taking some islands for some specific care. In times, additional threats came into from sea level rise and the subsidence, as was told this morning, sea storms, river flooding, and sediment transport. So what we start raising the city pavements, or build sea walls where possible, and we do also river mouth deviation. The first speaker told about the rivers which are coming. We do not have today many rivers flow into lagoon, which was not the case at the beginning when was these large rivers, Piave River, Brenta River, Adige River. So the lagoon of Venice was quite different from today. Also the number of inlets, also the number of inlets was different, were unstable. The natural tendency of these tidal flats is to become silted. So, but the survival of Venice, which was already a power in Europe, very populated city, and was put in jeopardy. More or less when Michelangelo was doing the stone walls around Florence, in Venice was this idea of, okay, let's have walls also in Venice. But after political debate occurred around the mid of the 16th century, they decided no. Sorry. Let's have as walls the sea and as a ceiling the sky. This was a political choice, and so they decided to divert these rivers were taken out from both sides. It takes a couple of centuries, but it was effective. And also the sea level rise is not something new for Venice, because since for the reason of compactation of soil, subsidence, and global sea level rise, we have the city was built in a lower altitude than the present sea level, mean sea level. We can go back. This is also we do not have gauges going so many centuries ago, but the way they from some paintings which were done using like a photographic way, we can go quite back and see which is the difference between the present level and the level it was 3 centuries ago. And so with other proxy, we are able to know which should have been the sea level when the San Marco church was started in 1064. But going to the present, since when we have tide gauges, so the zero is what we consider zero is the historical zero, is not the present zero. And you see that the sea level increased, and increased even worse with a higher speed during this time from the 50 to 70. You heard this morning the subsidence due to extraction of water here in Marghera for industrial purposes, which caused a subsidence. So this gradient increased. Then in the last 20 years, again rising. But the frequency of flooding is more important also for us. So the frequency started after in the second half of the 20th century, increased, and in the last year before the MOSE, we have 26 times of flooding. That's why I told you that I am the most flooded person here, because I mentioned that in my own life, I was born in 1960. This number is 314, which is quite a lot. But the dramatic increase occurred in the last 20 years. So the only way to cope with this, with the adaptation, the city was adapting. We heard this morning in the way, also in the debate, how you can adapt, or the people are, there is an early warning system here made with sirens, with different tones, which advised the people before. So the people were, okay, let's close my shop, let's wear my boots. But as you can see, the adaptation after some years occurred because we have electrical lights higher, so we can have a cappuccino also during the flooding event, which is one of the most important things for Italy. But it's a bit annoying, no, living in a city like this, even if it was not a disaster, because also the very severe flooding, nobody died in Venice. Instead, one person. It was a heart attack because of maybe. But while we heard this morning that 2,000 people died in the Netherlands in a more or less a typical meteorological event. This means that our attitude was different. We would not, in the Netherlands, they say whatever it takes, but we have to stop this because we have people died. In Venice, no. Okay, we suffered from flooding, but we wanted to maintain the system as it was. So the request from the people, from the society, was to find a way which could maintain the different uses. But this comes to a limit, because this adaptation, when this kind of event which occurred 2019 was so severe and so damaging also the building, and so it was, so you can be patient but with a limit. Also because there is the problem is not only economic, it's not only loss of life, but we are losing cultural heritage. This is the situation of you heard that I was in charge of maintaining the San Marco Basilica during the flooding. So you may understand how I was 6 years ago. And because this, the crypt was completely flooded, and this is the situation of the mosaic inside the basilica, because when there is a salt water flooding, and when the salt go into the bricks, into the plasters, when the water goes out, the salt remains inside and breaks like a cancer inside. No, and so it breaks and this kind of marble does not exist anymore. So where the place where they come is exhausted. So you lose material. This angle is 10 meters over the top, because the water comes for capillarity, and the plaster makes these tiles detaching. And so very, very severe consequences for the aging of cultural heritage. The game changer is this one. The MOSE was the first moment entering into function, the 3rd of October 2020, made the change. So this is and operated not the 110. The 110 is one I prepared the slides, and now 117 times. And but the interruption of the tidal breath is only 2% of the time. So it's a mobile barrier, it's not a fixed one. They are located here at the inlets, and there are 4, because in this case, in the Lido inlet, which is the larger, we have 2 arrows of barriers. In total, there are 17 floodgates. Each one is 20 meters, so we have more than 1.6 kilometers of flooding barrier, which raise up only when needed. Okay. This is the normal tide. This is the first time it's operating, so that this is the level of the sea, and the level of the lagoon was kept when closed. And also for difference, very severe stuff, this would have been 2 meters, and instead we have 80 centimeters in the lagoon. So this occurred in 2022, and this is the 3rd of October. I would like to underline very briefly the situation that we do have a nature-based solution inside the lagoon. In some sense, the MOSE system is the enabler of this, because without that, this kind of structure would have been disappeared. So we are protecting the lagoon. Of course, the time they gave me is very short. I cannot explain you what we are doing inside the lagoon, but the morphological reconstruction advanced. It is something that we are doing, thanks also to the infrastructure of the MOSE. So in addition to this, in order to avoid for myself 2 minutes, okay, it's enough, we built around the basilica this glass barrier. Was an idea of mine, because in order to avoid any kind of flooding, even of lower high tide, when the MOSE will not close, because it is too little. So the MOSE is for something which is higher. But in this way, we had the opportunity to start the restoration of the marble. And if you see the San Marco Basilica, if you go inside, you will see some of the restoration work already done. In a nutshell, the mixed approach is like this. So we select a quote for defending. The defense of the basilica is occurring even at so 110 centimeters is when the defense of the lagoon is starting from the MOSE. We are trying to raise up the pavements of all the city up to 110, and almost done, not everywhere, but one of the problem is San Marco Insula, which is the oldest one and so the lowest one as well. But we are doing some works for impermeabilizing the whole island in order to have a protection, passive protection, I would say, up to 110 centimeters. Just in case, for the most precious gems that we have this solution, no? That from the lowest level, which is 55 centimeters, up to 90, but in principle it can work even more, even if because I like to be sincere, we have a San Marco body there. No, I say to San Marco, never again. So I have to assure you, if I break this promise, I will go to the hell. So I mean, so I preferred avoid this and build a super sure solution for San Marco, and so San Marco is safe, and but this is the general scheme of protection for Venice. And so this is the restoration that has been performed. This is the picture of 6 years ago, and now this beautiful pavement mosaic of the 13th century has been fully restored. And in principle, all these approaches, all this experience, maybe not the solution itself, but the approaches are transferable to the other situation, other location, because we believe that Venice is the most ancient city of the future.
Very good.
Thank you.